Hi, and welcome to AI Voices, my channel here on YouTube. If you're new here, then great to have you here. In this episode, I'm going to show you a connection between Claude, MCPs, and N8N, and how we basically can use these powerful tools to create workflows automatically directly into N8N. This video is basically has two parts since it's going to be a long video. The first part is more of a demo of what I did, and the second part is more in-depth how to basically get everything up and running. So I go through step by step without skipping any steps along the way, so you can follow along and do the connection on your own. So if you're not interested in the whole process, you can just see the demo, and you will have all the links available down in the description, and you can basically do it yourself. Or if you want to see the full tutorial of how I do it step by step, then please watch the whole video, and let's begin. All right, so this is Claude Desktop, and we're going to start from here. Basically, I'm going to show a demonstration of the idea, and basically we are going to use here some repositories through GitHub. The main repository is this one called N8N MCP, done by this user. Very amazing repository that he built here, very sophisticated, and has a lot of tools and a lot of options within this MCP. And we're going to use two other repositories that I will show you very soon. And basically, let's first start with a demo of what I did. So basically, in Claude Desktop, I created three different projects for three different basically use cases that I was thinking of that we built. The first one is basically building a workflow from zero. So you have some kind of an idea in your head, and you want to build that workflow according to your idea. The second one is basically analyzing a JSON file. So, there's many cases where we see something on YouTube or in a different place, or we get something from a colleague and we have a JSON file. So with this project, we're basically going to take the JSON file and create it in our N8N account. Third one is a one that I called Visual Recreator, and basically also another type of way to do this. And we have basically an image. We see a YouTube video again or something else, and we see some kind of a scenario that we like and we want to basically copy. So we can take a screenshot, we add the screenshot into the project, and basically the MCP and Claude creates this workflow for us in N8N. Okay, so these are basically the three use cases or three scenarios that I thought of, and we'll start from the first one. So the first one, very simple, create a workflow. This is just an example, of course, create a workflow that sends a Discord notification whenever someone stars my GitHub repository, include the start count and user info. Once it is created, please add this into my N8N account. So basically, I give it a very simple instruction. And basically from here, it starts with creating the workflow, and it's going to start using basically our tools that we have available, and we will see later on exactly all these tools and how it works. So the first phase is that it will go through analysis of the requirements and try to understand what we basically need. And it's going to use a bunch of tools that we have in order to fetch all the information and understand exactly what is available and what we need. The second phase is a node discovery and selection. So basically, it goes through all the nodes that are available in N8N and basically selects the relevant nodes for this automation or workflow that we're looking to build. Then on phase three, it goes through some research about external APIs. So we use here another MCP called Context 7. We will go through it and basically looks into the API documentation to make sure that we have everything aligned with the updated information, updated documentation. And then it goes through phase four, which it does a pre-validation before it basically builds the workflow. It does a pre-validation, and then on phase five, it constructs the workflow. So it's basically starting to build the complete workflow. And then from there, it validates once again. And once it validates that everything is okay, it goes through deployment, basically creating the workflow on N8N. And from here, we basically get at the end deployment successful, and we get our workflow ID, and we get here a summary of the process. and everything that happened. We get setup instructions. What we need to do basically, we need to use our GitHub authentication. We need to set up the Discord webhook, and of course, we need to activate the workflow at the end. And basically, a short explanation about the whole process, what it does, and everything. And if we look in our N8N, so if I go here into my N8N, then I can see, of course, in this case, a very simple workflow just with 2 nodes. But basically, we can see that this was created from the project that we did here, and we have it already. And the only thing that I have to do, and that's left for me, is basically to set my credentials on for GitHub node and for Discord. And if we go into the Discord, for example, then we can see that even the message is written and everything here is set up already according to a specific way. So I don't need to do here any configuration or send any specific messages and so on. All the credential, all the fields and all the information is set. The only thing that I have left to do is basically connect my GitHub and my Discord into this scenario. And then once I do that, I just test workflow to see that everything's okay. And once it is, I double check that it's of course saved. I put it on activate, and I'm ready to go. And I have a workflow working. Okay, so that's one option. So the second option that we have is when we have some kind of a JSON file and we want to create the workflow. Now, of course, we can take the JSON file, go into our N8N, and inside the N8N, we can just go. We can go to the 3 dots, import from file, upload the JSON file, and it will upload our whole scenario. Of course, that's an option. But one of the things that this does is verification and checking if everything is updated. And that's something that if we do it by ourselves, but then we might waste a lot of time in configuration and setting up this JSON. So this is something that could help. And we can see here, basically it goes through phase 1, node verification. So it verifies all the nodes that is needed according to the JSON file, pattern analysis, trying to analyze what's going on, basically. External API validation goes to the contact 7 and checks the API documentation. And from there, does another workflow validation to make sure that everything's okay. And as you can see even here, although it's a JSON file, it did find some issues, and it says, I found a critical issue in the workflow. The HTTP request nodes for Perplexity AI have nested expressions. So it found some kind of an issue. And even if I don't understand what is nested expressions and what does JSON even mean, I don't really need to understand, because I'll fix this and deploy the corrected workflow, meaning it does all the work for you and basically fixes the workflow and moves on. And then it creates the workflow. And before it deploys the workflow, it does another step of validation just to make sure that everything is right. And then when it finishes, we get a message, workflow analysis and deployment summary, and we get a successful deployment of this workflow. In this case, just an example that I saw, I think, on one of the YouTube videos of someone else, and it was Calendly meeting prep workflow, as it called. And we have here our workflow ID, we have the workflow name, and we have all the information. And of course, if we go down, we have our next steps, the credentials that we need to add, the configuration for the Calendly webhook, and customize settings, and of course activate the work. Once we go into the N8N, we can see that we have the full workflow, and basically from here, all I have left to do is just set up my credentials, the Calendly trigger here I need to set up, and of course all these nodes that require my attention. But basically inside the nodes, if we go, for example, into the AI agent, then we have here already a prompt that's already set in with the variables and everything we need. All we need to do here is basically choose our account to connect, the Open AI account, and the model that we are interested in, and we are set to go. So we have all these options and everything is connected and everything looks great. And that's the second option. Third type of use case is, like I said, we have some kind of a workflow that we have an image, a screenshot of, that we got from someone or somehow, and we want to create it in our own workflow, in our own N8N account. So basically it goes through a little bit more of a complicated process, but also possible in this project, in a third project called Visual Recreator. And basically it goes through phase 1, visual analysis. It tries to, first of all, analyze from the image what it sees and what are the nodes that it needs to understand and map. And then it goes through node type mapping. So it verifies basically that all these nodes that it sees in the image still exist. So it goes through, as you can see here, a lot of work that it does for us, and then it creates the workflow in our N8N account, in our N8N cloud or self-served account, it doesn't matter. And then we finally get our workflow created successfully. We have our workflow details. We have a summary. We have an explanation about the workflow itself, and we have, again, our required steps to configure HTTP request, OpenAI node, split out node, and so on. Okay. Now here in this case, there was an issue with one of the nodes, and then I sent him another image showing him the issue with one of the nodes, and of course that was also fixed. And then we got our end result, and basically we got the last step of this process that basically looks like this in this case. Okay, and we have our whole process ready for us. And again, the only thing that we need to do here basically is to go through all the credentials, connect our credentials, and basically we're done. And even here, sorry, here we also, because it's an image, we will need to put in our prompt. Okay, that's the main difference here, because it comes from an image, so it doesn't really know from the image what are the prompts and the credentials. So we do need to set up the credentials, but it was able to create for us the whole thing from an image without us doing basically any of the work. So these are the main 3 use cases that I found. Of course, you can add more use cases and more types and adjust the projects accordingly. And this is the main idea. And basically, all of this is set up and basically sitting on 3 repositories, where the main repository is this one, N8N MCP. And of course, you can use just this MCP and connect it and add it to a project in Claude and Claude Desktop, and you can use it by itself. I did have some issues with some of the nodes, and therefore I decided to add. If I take this example, for example, when I tried the only with this GitHub. So when I try that on here, then the node, this node, which is called a merge, so the merge node here and the merge node here did not appear. It didn't work. Instead, if you have a node that it doesn't recognize or there's an issue, then what you will see here is basically a node. Looks like a square like this one, but in the middle there will be like a question mark. It will look like it's connected, but it's actually not really connected, because it's not really a node that's configured inside of N8N. Okay, so you will see it as if it's connected, but it's not really connected. And that was an issue that I had. And from there, I started to think about this option. I saw some videos also on YouTube talking about these GitHub repositories, and I thought it would be a good idea to add them. But once we add them, then of course we also need to adjust our system instructions within the GitHub, within the Claude project, and then we can start using it. Okay. So I'm going to go over all the stuff. Basically, we have here, like I said, 3 GitHub repositories. The first one is N8N MCP. We will come back to it in a moment. The second one is N8N Workflows, and the third one is Context 7. So if you're not familiar with it, Context 7 is basically a MCP server that gives you up-to-date code documentation for LLMs and AI code editors. So it basically helps to get updated information about the systems and documentations to make sure that everything is updated. And this is very crucial, because stuff do change from time to time. And if you have an old workflow with some old information or documentation, you might have some issues. So this hopefully will adjust that and fix it while you do this process. The second one is another amazing repository called N8N Workflows. This is the workflow that basically has all the workflows of N8N I could find. Not me, but the person who made this workflow, which is called Eliad Shahar. I don't know him specifically, but he did here an amazing job. And he took basically, at the moment, 2053 N8N workflows and put them all in one repository. And we can use it as an MCP into our system and connect it and use it as basically a knowledge base, or basically a place where we have all these examples, and Claude can use these examples to understand what are the options, how does a workflow look like, and so on. And the third and the main one is basically the N8N MCP, which basically has a lot of tools available. And we can see here, if we scroll down through all the information here in this repository, and we go to the bottom, we will see basically all the tools. So at the moment, there's, I think, 39 available tools. And what's the most interesting, or one of the most interesting tools that we have here, is N8N Create Workflow. And this is what gives us the option to create these workflows directly into our N8N account. Okay, so these are the GitHub repositories. Of course, I will link them down below in this in the video. So that's a very quick and short demo of how it looks. And basically, now I'm going to go into the second part of this video and show you a little bit on how to do this step by step. So if you have the knowledge, if you know how to do these kind of stuff, you can just stop here and use the information below in the description and start using it yourself. If you need that, if you're a beginner or someone that's not very techy and you need that step-by-step tutorial, step-by-step explanation, so this second part is for you. And I really didn't skip any parts here. I went through all the process that I basically did when I connected it. I'm not a developer. I just went through it and learned how to do it. And hopefully this can help you as well to connect everything together. So this is really step by step, and therefore it will be a little bit of a long video, but you can follow along. Okay, so we're going to go through all the steps, and basically when we talk about MCPs, we talk about Claude Desktop. We're not talking about Claude on the browser. So the first thing that you will basically need to do is download Claude Desktop. And when you download Claude Desktop, please make sure that you're downloading the right app. There are a lot of other apps that look very similar, but it's not the original, not the formal one of Anthropic. So make sure that you're downloading the right one. And through the Claude Desktop, we can basically work and connect our MCPs, and you will see that in a few moments. So basically, we have here, like I said, these three options, and we'll start from the most simple one, contact 7, and then we'll move forward on how we connect all of them. So the first thing is that once we connect and we have our Claude Desktop, we will open our Claude Desktop, and then we will go here on the top to where it says Claude. We go to Settings, and when we go to Settings, we go to Developer, and in Developer, you won't see these. These are my MCPs that are connected at the moment, but you can just go Edit Config, and that will open the folder of Claude on your desktop. And you have here a file called Claude Desktop config.json. And this is the file that we want to basically config and add all the MCPs into it. Now, in order to add it, you can use any kind of system that you're used to. It could be VS Code, could be Cursor, Windsurf, whatever it is that you're used to or you want to use. If you have VS Code, that's totally fine. If you're not sure what you want, then I can tell you from my experience, Cursor was very simple, straightforward to use for this case, but also VS Code, very, very easy. So this is basically the process. And once we do that and we add our servers, the next step for us is basically to close this down and to quit our Claude Desktop and restart it. Okay, don't mind this error. This is because I didn't set up the server at the moment, but soon we will do that as well. Okay, so the first step that we do is we go to contact 7, and of course we can go down here and read all the instructions and see what we need in terms of requirements and how to install. We have here a lot of different options. We can just look for Claude Desktop, and we can use this information in order to add it to the Claude Desktop JSON and go through the information and go step by step according to what we need to do here in order to set this up. But in order to simplify things, then there is an option to use something called gitmcp.io. Gitmcp is basically allowing us to use any GitHub repository as an MCP. So it works in a very nice and cool way. Basically, what we do is we go into the GitHub, the repository, and here in the URL, instead of github.com and then the rest of it, we just change this to gitmcp.io, and we click enter. And then we will get into a page that looks like this, and we go to Claude Desktop, and we can basically take this, copy it, and paste it in our JSON config file on Claude Desktop, just like we saw through settings. Okay, so this is a way to simplify it and connect it very easily and quickly through the gitmcp.io. So we can do that for the contact 7, and we can do the same thing for the N8N workflows. And also here, of course, you can go by the instructions, whatever is more comfortable for you. But if you're not very familiar with these systems and how they all work, then I do recommend to do just that, and just again go here, git mcp.io. You will see the same thing like here, Claude Desktop, and you connect it. Now at the moment we have basically we went through two options, two repositories, sorry, one context 7 and the other one is the N8N workflows. So the moment that we have two, and we want it to be structured in the right way as a JSON. So if you have any experience, you can do that on your own. It's not very complicated, but we have LLMs and we can use basically ChatGPT or Claude or any of the models that you like, and basically ask it to unify the different JSONs into one unified JSON, and basically connect them together into one nice JSON that we can add into the configuration file on Claude. Okay, so the way to do it is very simple. You just go into Claude, you go into a new chat, and then you can ask it something like this: create a JSON unified file out of all of these, and then under it, we just go two lines below, one line below, and add all the repositories, the MCP servers, the JSONs that we want, and we click enter, and we'll basically set up everything for us in one JSON file. Then we can take that JSON file and add it into Claude. Okay, so that's how we do basically the first two MCP servers or MCP tools that we want to use. The third one is a little bit different. Here in N8N MCP, we can do the same, but if you scroll down here, and before we go through all the installation and all the information here, if you go down here, then you will see that we have here two options. We have a basic configuration and we have a full configuration. So if you want just the basic configuration, you can use it the same way that we did with the first two. Git MCP, take from here, Claude Desktop, copy the code, add it through Claude into one unified JSON, and you're good to go. But if you really want to use this to the full extent, then you want the full configuration. And if we want to understand what is the difference, then again, we can scroll down in this repository all the way down. We can see here all the tools. So basically the regular one, the basic, will have the core tools, will have the advanced tools, but here it won't have the N8N management tools. And here in N8N management tools, we have the create workflow, which we want to use in this case, and we won't be able to if we don't have it. Now, once we go through the Git MCP, it won't be able to do the full configuration because there are two things that we need to add here ourselves. One is the N8N API URL, and the second is N8N API key. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do this and how to set this up. Okay, so these are the two things that we basically need, and in order to get the full configuration. So in order to do that, there is a few options, and we're going to go through this right now, and we're going to see the repository. So basically, first of all, and most importantly, there is here a quick tutorial made by the person that made this MCP, N8N MCP, this repository, and it really explains very nicely how to do the option one, the fastest, no installation required, very simple way. For this, you will need to install Node.js into your system. Okay, if you don't know how to do that, then again, he shows it in the video, and it is recommended anyhow for you to install it if you don't have, especially if you want to start using MCPs into your in your Claude. All of them basically will require this installed. So basically, you go to Node.js download, and you download it, and then you can take it from there. Basically, like he explains in his video, very straightforward. The only issue that I found is that when I tried on my system and I set up the full configuration, I got some errors. I tried again a few times, and I still got some errors. So then I moved to the second option, and it worked much better for me. So you can, of course, recommend it to try first the easiest way. If it works for you and if it works smoothly, then everything is good. If not, then you need to go into the second option. And it's not very complicated, but it's a few more steps. So basically, in the second option, we need to use Docker. And Docker, you just go into www.docker.com, and here you can download Docker Desktop, choose the right system, Apple or Windows, whatever it is that you use. And then you will have to install it, of course, on your computer, and you have the Docker Desktop, the application, and you can go through there. So basically, you go and you open up your Docker. Now, this helps us to do a lot of things. Now, once we go into Docker, and after you install, this is probably what you will see. Now, we're not going to go into details about Docker and what it is and so on, but basically here, you do not need to sign up or create an account or connect to your Google or anything like that. It's free of charge, so you don't need to pay here anything or anything like that. When you get to this page, all you have to do is just click here, skip, and then you will see this page. Okay, you will see containers, and you will see it will say something or show you these, or maybe a little bit different, depends. Maybe it will change by the time you see it, but in general, you will see here your running containers show up here, and you shouldn't see any containers at the moment. And you will see here on the bottom engine running, and you can pause it, and if I pause it, nothing works, and if I continue, it goes back to working. And so this is what I see when I log in and I set everything. Sorry, when I download the app and I skip and I come here. Okay, so this is the first step to download the Docker. So we got that done. The next step is that we go here into the repository and we look to see what we need. So we install the Docker, and the next part will be to pull the Docker image. So basically we need to take this line of command, and we need to put this command in our terminal and set up everything to set up the Docker image. Okay, now two ways. One way is, of course, through the terminal, or if you don't feel that it's easy for you, or you need some assistance with that, you can use warp.dev, which is basically another agentic system that you can download to your system. And basically, you can use Warp in order to install the system. I'll show you what happens once you download it and you can open it. So once you download and open, you sign up and you get to this page where you're going to have all kinds of things. And basically all you do is just this from the repository into your Warp right in here, and you click enter. And the moment that you will click enter, it will basically set it up for you. If there will be any issues or if there will be any errors, it will find the solution for you. You might need to click on some buttons like enter or approve stuff along the way, but when I ran it, it went through smoothly and set it up for me. So I didn't have any issues, and I think that could really help to set it up in an easy way without getting into too much confusion. But also putting this in terminal should give you the same solution. So if you're comfortable with it, you just go into your terminal. If you have a Mac, you go here, you search for terminal, and you open it up, and this is your terminal. And then in here, you just put this in and you let it run. And if you have any issues, you can, of course, use all kinds of LLMs. If it's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all of them could be very helpful. I did find that for me, dealing with these kind of stuff, Gemini was, especially the latest version, you can use it on Google AI Studio for free, and it gives you a lot of help, and it was the most helpful for me with these kind of technical parts. After we ran this command that we have here to pull the Docker image, we just go on with the repository. And the next step is basically to add the Claude Desktop config. So we have the basic configuration, and that's if you don't want to add your tools, the create workflow, and if you don't want to basically do the full configuration. But of course, the full configuration is what would be more interesting. And so it depends on you. If you are willing and if you want, you will add here your URL and API key. And if you don't, then you can just use the basic. So in order for us to get the URL and the API key from N8N, we're basically going to do something very simple. We're going to go into our N8N count. And when we go into our N8N count, this is basically how our system should look. And on the top here, we have our URL. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to take everything from cloud back. Okay. And this is basically our URL. Okay. And then you can write it in a sticky note or in a Google Doc. In my case, just now for this tutorial, I'm going to do it on a Word document. And then I can write here URL and attach my URL of that and API key. And then I go back into N8N, and you will see on the bottom, it might be blocking the view here, but if you go on the left side, right here on the menu that you see here, on the bottom, you will have your username, and then next to it, you will have three dots. You click on the three dots, you go to settings, and then when you go into settings, then you have here basically all the settings, and you go into N8N API. And then when you're N8N API, you can click on create an API key. You can give the API key a name. Okay, so I'm just giving it a random name here. And one of the great things that you have in N8N is that you can choose the expiration for this API key. So you can choose 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, custom, or no expiration. Of course, choose according to what you want to try and do with this. Scopes, we don't need to change anything. We can leave it as it is, and then we can click save. Now, once we click save, we will see our API key. And just to make sure that you know this and to clarify, please copy the API key, because once we click on done, then we can't see the API key at all anymore, and then you're gonna have to go through the process again. So we click to copy, we get this message, API key copy to clipboard. We go back to our document, and we will add our API key just like this. Okay, and then here we can click done, and we will see our API right in here. And here we can edit, we can delete it, and so on. So from here we can see our N8N API key. The next step after that, after we basically got both our API key and our URL, after we got our N8N URL and we got our API key, we just copy the whole JSON from here. We will add it in here where we have our API keys, and just to make it easier for us. And then here under URL, we will basically just take our URL from here and paste it here exactly, and make sure that there are no spaces or anything that doesn't need to be. And then same thing with the API key. We take the API key and we paste it here after the equal sign. Okay, and make sure that there are no spaces or anything. And basically then you are ready with this JSON. And then you can take this JSON, and of course, just like we did before, you can take this JSON, ask from Claude or any other LLM to unify this JSON with the other JSONs, the other two that we already did, and basically you are set. Okay, you are set with the API key and the URL, and from there, all we have to do now is finishing to set up the Docker, and we can run our Claude Desktop with these MCPs. Okay, so once we ran this and everything goes through, hopefully smoothly like it did for me, then we can go to our Docker again, and we go here into images, and in images, we should see this, something in here, okay? So we need to see a name, that's the repository, the GitHub repository that we're basically doing the same image, and then we have here run. Once we click on the run, then we have here some optional settings that we can set up, or we can just quickly click run, whatever you prefer. Here in the options, we can give the container a name, we can give it a port, some variables, but we don't need that really for this use case. And then we are all set. Once we click run, everything is okay. And all we need to do basically at that point is to quit our Claude Desktop and reopen our Claude Desktop. And then you will see also here that if we go into the container, we have a new container running at the moment. Okay, and if we go in here and we go into our tools where we can see all our MCPs, then we can see this is the N8N MCP. It has 39 tools at the moment. We have the Contact 7 docs and the N8N workflow docs. So we have the ones that we are interested in, and it's set up into our Claude Desktop. If you see for some reason that there's any issues, try to restart again and then come back here. In addition to the MCPs, another few things that we want to have here adjusted is we want to enable the extended thinking. We want to let Claude to think a little bit deeper into the operation, into the whole process. And also from my experience, Claude Opus was much better than Sonnet 4 for this case. So I do recommend to do Claude Opus. And basically from here, we can start working with it. The next part that we want to do basically is set up our project in Claude. And here we can set up the system instructions or project instructions. And the way to do that is, first of all, we have here the instructions from the repository. So you can also use this. It's very, very good, and it gives a lot of basic instructions, and even more than basic, to explain everything that needs to be done. But if you want to use also these two repositories as well, so we need to adjust it, and that's what basically I did here. Not here, but here. So here I added a few parts into the instructions. I used basically the same idea, but I gave here some instructions on Contact 7, and of course on the N8N workflows. So it has all this, and it has use N8N workflows when, and use Contact 7 when, and so on, to give all the information about all the different repositories that we're using, or all the MCP tools basically that we're using in order to get a better result. Okay, so basically we set here 3 different projects with the right instructions. The analyzer, the builder, and the recreator. You will have this information in the description below so you can use it. And basically, once you do that, then you have all these 3 that are set up for you. And basically, you are all set and ready to go. That's basically the idea behind this whole system. And from there, you can use the system for either to create workflows, workflows from JSON files or create from images and try to use it from there. Is it 100%? Probably not. But I think this gives a very, very interesting way of, working with the system and trying it out and trying to see and trying to get workflows going in N8N with quite a simple way of constructing it. This is basically the whole idea behind it. A few points in regards to this process that I saw, at least from my experience. One, very complicated workflows. You will have issues here because of the tokens and limitations that we have inside of Claude. So if it's a very complicated workflow, you will reach your limit quite fast because we're using the extended thinking and we're using Claude Opus 4. And both of them together with the MCPs and everything and the instructions, all of this together eats up a lot of tokens. And therefore, if it's a very complicated workflow, you will probably hit some limits. So if you hit a limit, you basically have 2 options. In that case, either wait until your account is free again and you can use it once again, or another solution that might be relevant is using something like Cursor or Windsurf and setting up this project or another project in the same way inside of Cursor or Windsurf, and there you probably will have more flexibility and more options. I tried to do it on Cursor, and the results that I got so far weren't so good, so I'm not going to share what I did there because it didn't work for me, but maybe I need to adjust a few things in my Cursor and try to do it in a better way. If I will, of course, I'll share an additional follow-up video on how I did that. But basically, you can set up your workflows and you can get to work, as they say. So that's one remark in regards to this. Another thing is that, yes, this gives us the option to build all kinds of workflows that could be very cool and nice, and we can set it up in our N8N. But this does not replace the need to understand N8N and how it works and in general idea of the nodes and everything that's possible. Because even after I set everything up and I do that, then I still need to come in here and I need to set up my credentials and I need to go over basically every step along the way to see what is going on. So if I don't know, for example, what is a trigger, it will be hard for me to understand what's going on here. Or if I don't know what a webhook is, then I won't know what I need here and what's the difference between a test URL or production URL and why it's not working for me when I do save this and activate it. So you do need that basic knowledge about N8N, but it could help you really boost and do stuff very quickly. If you are a business, then this will allow you to start setting up all kinds of simple workflows and start getting N8N working for your business. If you are an agency or someone that builds automations, then of course this could give you a very quick jump start, and you can take any idea from any client and produce something quite quickly and show them some kind of quick result. And a lot of times that will help you also to close deals and move forward with clients in a much faster way. So these are my remarks in general about this idea. Okay, so that's basically the end of the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to my channel. There will be more stuff coming in the future, tools, automations, workflows, different ideas. So I would appreciate it if you could subscribe, and please leave a comment. I would like to hear your feedback, any ideas. Thanks again for watching, and see you on the next one.